What's up, everybody? Today I wanted to make a Alien Earth video quick before, early in the morning before I do anything else, so I don't get distracted again. I didn't make a video for episode 5. I did watch the episode. I watched it like 2 or 3 times, but then I kept not getting the video out, procrastinating or getting distracted with other things. But anyway, let's forget all of that. Episode 5 was probably the best episode of the season. Well, definitely the best episode. Although I didn't want I gotta trim my nose hairs. They're tickling my mustache hairs. I didn't want oh man, that's annoying. I didn't want there to be a flashback episode. Kept my nose hairs kept tickling me. I kept forgetting what I was thinking. I didn't want there to be a flashback episode, but it was good. I actually felt like episode 1 was good enough, and it showed the xenomorph a little bit and this and that. But episode 5 and everything that they showed was really good. I'm not gonna get into it or a description. It's already a week old. Reviews have been out and Easter egg videos have been out and everything. So there's no reason for me to go in depth in episode 5. But it was a ten to me. Episode 6, The Flies. Um, of course, people are giving it way lower ratings than episode 5, and I understand that. But for me, I liked it because it's moving the story forward. Like, even though episode 5 in itself was like a 9 or a 10 episode, the fact like where it came in the season is not the right spot for me. Like, in terms of I wanted to get further into the future. And with me, with these 8 episode shows, I mean, they got to get them done. Like, I know people don't want them to rush through things. People generally like more content, but it's taking them like 2-3 years to make a season of these shows. You know, so what they really need to do is be longer episodes. But if they're not going to be longer episodes, sometimes the seasons need to move along. There shouldn't be no filler, and this isn't really filler. It is showing important stuff, but it should have just all been included in episode 1, which it would have made that episode 2 hours. It would have made it a movie, but it's not enough. That's what I'm saying. Is in 2 hours, enough is not happening. Because if it was a 2 hour movie, it would be 2 hours in which nothing really happened. I mean, it could. No, it wouldn't, because if you took this episode 6 and episode 1, put it together, it would have been a good movie. Just wouldn't have had the conclusion, or the conclusion of them just getting saved. That would have been the ending, and they would have survived. But after she killed the alien, so that could have been a movie. Episode 5 and 6 together, though, couldn't be a movie. Maybe it could. I would have to think about it, like try how I could combine only the scenes that's in these 2 episodes into a movie, since it's 2 hours. If you take these 2 episodes, but the pacing, I think that's something that people need to do with these shows too. Like, maybe like they're taking movies and cutting them up into shows. Maybe they should do it the opposite way. Think of these shows, put them in the episodes, but make it in a way that each 2 episodes would be a good movie. Maybe that's what these companies need to do going forward, because sometimes that cutting the movies in the episodes comes out bad, and the other way around comes out bad too sometimes. But yeah, so in terms of moving the story forward, almost none of that happened in this episode until the very end. No, that'd be episode 5. Nothing happened until the very end. Episode 6, yeah, I still want to talk about episode 5. Episode 6, we see more things happening that show how everything is falling apart and how everything's gonna fall apart in these next 2 episodes. First, they erase Nib's memory, so she can't remember anything from like before the ship crashed. Is all she remembers. So she doesn't remember thinking she was pregnant, trying to attack, like threatening the lady, physically threatening her. Um, she doesn't remember any of that. The eye monster attacking her, she doesn't remember anything. So that, of course, um, makes Wendy slash Marcy mad. But that was a bad idea. That didn't make any sense. That they didn't tell the other Simps not to bring up anything that happened in, like, let's just say it's been 5 days or a week. Who's gonna not talk about anything they did in the past week? You know, they should have told without anybody telling them. They should have said, "Oh, if you tell her this is gonna trigger her." Of course, they probably didn't want them to know. Oh, we could erase your memories, change your memories, give you false memories, whatever. They probably didn't want them to know that. Which, of course, they wouldn't. But then don't just say, "Oh, that'll trigger her." It's too traumatizing. Just don't ever talk about it again. That's all they had to do. Um, But so Wendy ends up getting mad. So Smithy was the one guy I kept saying I didn't know if he was Smithy or Smee because the two of them were together. S- uh, uh, so Smithy, he's gonna go get Joe to try to use him for the xenomorph. It doesn't work because the security is there, and it takes Joe because they want to take him for something else. And so he ends up going after the scientist who gets fired for not wanting to erase Nib's memory. And he doesn't actually go after the scientist. He's just going to the science lab. He's giving up. You see, he's like dropping to the ground. He's in shock. He's like crying or about to be. And then, well, maybe that was after this. I might be getting that mixed up, but he's about to be crying just because he knows his mom's going to get killed when he sees the other guy needs to go in and save Isaac. Well, figure out what's wrong with Isaac because Isaac got killed by the flies. And the thing about that is they should have saw that happening. Why was nobody monitoring? It seems like this company, apparently everybody in the area works for them. Like each company is like a country. And so the only thing you could do is work for these 5 companies. So this guy works for the company. And he's not watching the cameras. He's in the lab, but he's not watching the guys get. But he's also the only person in the lab. And I get it. You don't want to cast like 100 characters. Although Game of Thrones had a lot of characters, there's been shows with a lot of characters before. There's like never anybody in the research lab full of dangerous aliens. There should be 2 armed guards around at all times, and it doesn't make sense that he can afford that because he's literally a trillionaire. There's only 5 companies on Earth. He has one, and throughout space, like they've colonized other places, or they have colonies or whatever. They've been to other places at least. He's got 1/5 of all humanity's money, and he can't afford two security guards at the door or something. And I get I keep forgetting the older synth, the like chief of, I don't know if he's head of security or head of all synths, research and security. He's just his top guy, jack of all trades. He knows what Smithy is doing. He's letting it happen. He watches as Smithy kills the scientist. Not kills him, but you know, locks him in there with the face hugger. Isaac's death, he basically got tricked by a goat. But I hate in TV shows where people walk into rooms with automatically locking doors and they don't put something in front of the door. Like it wasn't an automatically shutting door. You know how some doors you open them and they have like pressure that closes them. You know, pressurized spring or piston that closes the door. Even if the door doesn't have that, you don't leave a door that's gonna lock you. Like it automatically slam locks. You don't leave that door like either you leave that shit completely open to where it can't blow closed, or you put something in front of the door. He's in there. The door was practically closed behind him anyway. It was like when you before you close the door, but you don't shut it. You know what I mean? Like you can't see through the opening, but you didn't actually pull it so that the mechanism locks. He's got the door sitting on itself, basically sitting on the frame, like door up against frame, and the goat headbutts the wall. He trips and falls, and the door closes behind him. That certain tropes, I feel they're not that bad, whatever. That's one of the worst tropes ever to me, and I understand that it can happen. Like people lock themselves out all the time. I locked myself out of a room a few months ago because I had a lock like that. I had my keys in my pocket in the jacket, and then I took off the jacket and walked out the room in the door, and I'm like, oh shit. I literally just took my keys out of my pants pocket and put it in the jacket pocket, but then I took off the jacket. So I understand things can happen like that. But the room I was locked out of, other people that worked there had a key. And also there wasn't deadly creatures inside of there. It wasn't a room that I had to get out of in seconds anyway. So that's dumb. If you got to get out of a room in seconds, the door should be wide open. Like I get you don't want them to fly out. But what, you want to be stuck in there with them? I'd rather they fly out and go get somebody else. But anyway, so the story didn't move forward that much in terms of the xenomorph got a little bit older. Wendy was doing more clicking noise talking to it. And it did grow really fast in the course of one day, but we know it only takes them like 2 days. Joe keeps trying to like escape and making it blatantly obvious that he wants to escape. He's not smart, but he was never presented as an extremely intelligent person. Like, yeah, he's a doctor, but he's not like, they never said he was street smart or science smart. And I feel like characters that have zero, like, if you even want to call it street smarts, I actually don't, but whatever, if that's what you want to call it. It's common sense, you know what I mean? If you're planning to do something you don't want people to know you're trying to do, stop giving hints. Like he keeps saying, oh, they're both out of here, and how do you take care of sense, and blah, blah, blah. Everyone he spoke to this episode realized he was trying to escape. Everyone he spoke to this episode realized he was trying to escape. Wendy, she's like, what if I don't want to leave? Like, she completely shuts him down. Like, I'm finding us a way out of here. She was like, who said I wanted to get out of here? Like, not even like a little bit of convincing. Not like she was trying to convince him that they should stay or nothing. She was just like, I ain't leaving. So do what you gotta do. Like, if you want to leave, like I say, I got you out here. If you want to leave, go. Saved your life. But that's before she found out what happened with Nibs. Once she found out what happened with Nibs, she's all down with getting out of there. She's like, forget this place. They erased our memories. They could like I said, now is they definitely don't know that they're completely monitored all the time. Which actually they aren't, because there's nobody looking at the cameras unless Boy Cavalier walks into the room. Then nobody does the job, if there is anybody who has the job. Because at most I've seen 3 people in that science room when there was the guy, you know, and it doesn't look like they're actually doing anything. Like when he told her to go push the buttons, when he told the other the other girl simps, the other female simp, she hasn't really been involved in the past 2 episodes since she was upset about Wendy being the favorite, and then since he was like, "Oh, you can speak French, but you can't do that." Since she hasn't really been involved. Like she had like one scene, she does like look up at the camera like, "Hey" or whatever. This episode, Smee, who wasn't really involved in the past couple of episodes, got more involved this episode. He's upset. Everybody's acting weird. So Smee and her are the least used characters. I literally didn't know either of their names until last episode, and I figured out Smee. I didn't even figure out hers because I don't think they said her name in the episode. But like I said, I was supposed to just look up the character list, but 2 episodes left now. So it is intriguing. I like story building episodes. Of course, I love action packed episodes, but I like both. Like the story is developing and action is happening, and this did have that with the whole goat scene with the eye monster and the flies. In that sense, that was a real like sci-fi gore scene. This psychiatrist and her trying to talk to the Sims and get everybody's like keep everybody in line. She's like, "Oh, I can fix this." When he wants them to erase their memories, not their memories, Nib's memory. She's like, "Oh no, it's gonna cause more problems because the underlying issue is still there now." Unless I don't, that's because they're not erasing her childhood trauma memories. Maybe they should erase those too, and then she might just be fine. Because they're saying that she's acting like this because of childhood trauma. They should have erased those memories if they were erasing memories. Because now, if her memories do come back, first of all, it didn't even take her any time to go back to being crazy. As soon as she realized she didn't have memories, she went crazy. So that, so now that scientist, first of all, his wife threw him under the bus with the quickness. And they didn't even speak after that. And I didn't think they were married. Not like at first I didn't. I did kind of realize that they were like in some type of relationship prior to when they said it. I kind of figured out that it was just like a younger guy and an older woman, which I think that's why people don't realize, because you don't see that often on TV. But it's not like completely uncommon in real life, but you don't see that very often depicted, almost never on TV. But yeah, she threw him under the bus with the quickness. But I guess she's like, one of us gotta have a job. He's got 6 degrees, so he could easily get a job. She probably has the same amount or more, or a little less, 4 or 5 degrees, but it doesn't matter. They could both easily get new jobs. You know what I mean? They could have both went to Weyland-Yutani the next day. We know how to make hybrid sense. Boom. They're stupid rich. She probably would have gave them more money than Boy Cavalier is paying them, because he helped develop the technology and blah blah. He's a genius. He's one of the smart people on earth. But them bringing her the technology would be, more useful to Yutani because she doesn't have any of it. So she probably pay a lot for that. They probably have to never work again, but it is what it is. In terms of that, I think that would have been a good plot thread if the two of them tried to sell him out once they realized once he was just disrespecting them time and time again, But so now that he's been captured. He got dragged back to the room with the vent. That's a trope I don't really mind. The vent, people escaping through giant vents. I don't even mind that anymore. It's been in everything. It's gonna be in everything. That I don't mind. But a door locks automatically behind you. Like I said, I did that to myself before. But at least I thought I had the key on me. And I didn't trap myself in anywhere. It was like I was trapped in a freezer. I locked myself out of a place I knew how to get back into. So that's different than locking yourself in a room with a face melting monster. That's different. Or alien. I almost say monster. Face melting alien. So overall, I'll give the episode an 8 for the... I gotta actually think about it. So the tension, I should probably think about it before I do the videos. The tension ramps up. There's some moments of tension when she's talking to Nibs. When she talks to the scientist about Nibs, Marrow and the 100% synth, the white hair is synth together in the elevator, threatening to kill each other. The dialogue, the court session. Some people didn't like that. I did like it. I saw people saying that they didn't like it because all Yutani had to do was point out that there was corporate espionage, like point out that she knew that he sabotaged the ship. But the reason why she didn't do that, as they talked about, because he was saying these specimens have to be quarantined, which she's like, okay, but he's like dangerous species. So apparently there's rules against them bringing alien species to Earth, especially dangerous ones. So if he could prove that she was bringing these species to be biological weapons, she would get in more trouble than he would get in. So sabotage is wrong. Is basically what they're saying. Sabotage is wrong. Bringing invasive species to kill everyone else is worse. So Boy Cavalier basically called her bluff, saying, tell on me, I'm telling on you. Or we could both keep our secrets and play this like a chess match, and whoever wins, wins. But if we snitching, then we snitching. And so once Boy Cavalier said, if you snitching, I'm snitching, then she was like, no, I'm not snitching because I could possibly get in more trouble than him, or maybe definitely would get in more trouble for him. So to me, that wasn't a plot hole that Morrow didn't say, we know you sabotaged the ship to steal it, to steal the research, because then he could say, well, I know that those aliens were invasive species that were going to be used for chemical warfare, and I can prove that. Or biological warfare, and I can prove that. And I know you were bringing these in without authorization, without telling the other companies, and you probably weren't going to plan on doing the quarantine either. So he strong-armed her, verbally, of course. He strong-armed her So she couldn't. She basically was like, we can't handle this in the courts because if we handle it through court, he's gonna win in the court because yeah, he made the guy crash the ship, but he didn't make him. He convinced him, but he could maybe even lie and say make it. But no, I think he did it say in the video make it crash. So yeah, but he could get in trouble for those lives or whatever. But I don't think they really care about the lives of everyday people much anyway. So they probably care more about the buildings. But anyway, I've been going on. I'll say episode would be a 7. It's a solid episode. You know what? 8. The episode was an 8 for me. The tension put it over the top. There's a bunch of tense moments, emotional moments. Smithy, like what he's going through, and he's breaking down. That was good. That was some good acting. It was realistic. Um, so I'm gonna give the episode an 8, and maybe I'll do some more videos talking about the series later today. But I'm gonna just get this one out there because it's already pretty long.